think when you talk about that, I see that you're already talking about human resource, you're talking about psychiatry, you're talking about coaching. You've somehow had information and knowledge about bipolar and how it works. Even though when you talk to her about it and seeking medication or, professional help, she didn't accept. So you entered this with knowledge, and not entered, okay, you found yourself in this, and good enough you had the knowledge. Yes. Now you had the knowledge. The problem is, if someone didn't have the knowledge, death wouldn't have done your part. You would have separated long time ago.
I think so.
But or also, married another wife or something.
Yes. But also, beyond that, I don't want it to only be about the science.
Yes.
And my research. Of course, it's true. I carried out a lot of research on mental health. By virtue of my human resource work.
Yes.
Of course.
I needed it. By virtue of my coaching work, I needed it. By virtue of my consultancy, where I needed to support organizations who are going through similar experiences, I needed to be, as a consultant, you must be more informed than your client.
Of course.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they will not respect you.
Yeah.
You cannot even invoice for
True.
your work. You must be more knowledgeable. So it was my responsibility to research. So I would go to the World Health Organization website and get lots and lots and lots of material on mental health. Specifically, not even COVID, mental health. If it was COVID, it was how is COVID related to mental health? And then, of course, Cornell University and many other resources. And I was well armed and loaded with information. I can speak on mental health comfortably, even though I'm not a doctor,
a practitioner in that area.
Yes. From the point of view of a primary caregiver of a mentally ill person, the husband or the spouse of a mentally sick wife. I made it my business to educate myself, such that I would not have unnecessary stigma for her. I would have empathy. I would not reject her. I would provide the right support system for her. That was it. But secondly, the reason why I also stuck in there is the spiritual aspects.
Okay.
My vows meant something to me. And my relationship with God was important and is still important to me. I'm not perfect, of course, and yet in his own magnitude of magnanimity and grace, God permits me a relationship with him. Therefore, who was I, an imperfect man, to judge an imperfect woman who was suffering with pain through no fault of her own?
Wow.
She did not create the illness.
She did not even want it.
She did not want it. She even disassociated herself from it. That's why she refused the treatment. That's why she refused the therapy. That's why she refused the psychotic evaluation that the psychiatrist had arrived at. They had arrived at the fact that she had schizophrenia. The main illness that she had was actually schizophrenia. But schizophrenia is a form of split personality disorder, which presents with all these other disorders: multiple personality disorder, split personality disorder, anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder. All these disorders are housed in schizophrenia. It's the hardest mental illness. And the schizophrenia has two types. There is schizophrenia, which is of an exuberant kind. You go to Utabika and you find a person who is admitted there who is mentally sick saying, I am the president of Uganda.
Yes.
They have this pompousness. They have delusions of grandeur. That is also schizophrenia. You have delusions of grandeur. Now that one is even easier to deal with. The harder one to deal with is of the one of my wife.
Quiet one.
Those who have delusions of victimhood. Delusions of persecution. The psychiatrists call it persecutory delusions. Those ones are much harder to address, because when a person thinks they are being persecuted, they look at the whole world as though it is crumbling on them.
Yeah, true.
The world hates me.
Yes.
Nobody loves me. They feel like they're a burden to their family members and their loved ones. They hide from themselves. They sort of be like they're in a shadow all the time. When they drive, when we would drive that car, she would make sure that we stop several times. Because every time we got overtaken, she would tell me we are being tailgated. Those are persecutory delusions.
Oh my God.
When a border would overtake us, she would say, stop.
And you would stop.
I would stop to honor her.
Yeah.
I knew what I was dealing with, so I would not argue, because the doctors had advised me, if you argue with a schizophrenic person, they will never accept treatment.
Whoa.
They will never accept therapy. They will never go for counseling. So to avoid arguments, you accept. If they tell you the world is against them, say that world is a bad place, you know. It's a nefarious place. Then she would binge on TV programs like ID Extra. Where you have mentally sick people.
ID Extra?
Yes, I do.
Mentally sick people who commit heinous crimes. Violent crimes. And eventually most of them die suicidally or they die of murders. They end up badly or end up in jail for life and so on. So I wondered why she was binging on such psychotic shows. I don't know whether in a dark sense she related.
I hope this helps someone.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope if somebody is listening to this podcast.
I actually used to love things.
The ID.
Yeah,
ID.
And let me speak this honestly. And God spoke to me and said, Beth, I don't want you to watch that channel again. Anymore. Yes. And I accepted because I know that God spoke. So I honored him. And I would just pass. And recently I checked and I don't know, the channel disappeared by itself. Yeah, but
maybe the bouquet you had subscribed to didn't have
whoever is listening in, don't think I'm crazy. But I liked the idea of, you know, there's that mystery. I don't know. Exactly, that's the right word. The mystery.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, it's intriguing. So, what happened next? What did they do? And I really would watch. And I heard it clearly. I heard that voice clearly. I woke up, I switched off the television, and never watched it again.
Yeah, so she would binge on YouTube channels as well. And
crime stories and stuff.
Yes,
like
crime scene investigations. And she would be watching those things for hours and hours and hours and hours. When she would be in a depressed state, she would not sleep. Or she would sleep too much. It's both. That's why it's called bipolar. You can either sleep too much or
don't
work
sleep.
too long or don't sleep at all. And in her case, the not sleeping was the more common thing that she exhibited. So when again you see a person who doesn't sleep well for long periods, it's okay. You might be under pressure for exams or some kind of deadlines, which keeps you awake at night. That's understandable for a while. But in the event that this goes on indefinitely, we were on the Twitter Spaces with Andrew Chamagero last Saturday, and one of the doctors, Jacob Otile, who is a psychiatrist, said that somebody asked the question, what's the difference between sadness and depression? Will we not just glamorize the word depression and everybody starts using it as a buzzword and we actually fail to help the genuinely depressed people? The doctor's response was clear. More than 2 weeks of sadness and melancholy is depression. There is this Monday blues, you wake up not wanting to go to work, that is normal.
It comes and go. It's short time.
It's short term.
You know,
it comes and goes.
It's okay. You can still
the resolution, not even register.
But earlier on, you said you have fortified your mental. For me, I'll be screaming anyway.
I know, right?
The things I've dealt with, Lawrence.
True.
My muscles are made of steel now. Yes, my nerves are made of steel.
Yeah. You
I could have committed a crime.
An uncanny calmness with you right now. That is seriously admirable.
Yeah. True. I am actually in shock and in admiration at the same time.
Because you also lost an uncle during COVID
and
it affected you big time.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
Ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so depressing. losing people and you can't bury them, you can't be near them.
You can't have closure.
You can't have closure, and I'd lost my father earlier, now I'm losing another father.
Sorry.
It was so depressing.
Understandably. And this is why one of the disorders that is now being treated by psychiatrists is actually post-COVID stress disorder. It is it's post-traumatic stress disorder, but the trauma caused by COVID. So it's post-COVID stress disorder now. And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
When I took my wife to Entebbe Lakeside Hospital and she got admitted.
When was this?
This was November
last
2021. The rise in admissions following COVID was 60%.
Whoa.
I'm talking admissions where they need to detain you for treatment for some time.
Oh, admissions as in you're going home.
No, you're
staying in hospital.
You're being put in a bed, an hospital bed.
Yes.
For constant monitoring and treatment for at least some time, days, weeks, months, even. So it's a serious matter.
How long did she stay there?
8 days.
Yeah.
She stayed there. And to answer your earlier question, Beth, this is when I knew for sure she was mentally sick. I knew already.
Yeah.
All the signs and symptoms, all my research had indicated to me.
Yeah.
But she had completely refused to accept. So we had to take her back to the mental facility. We had to take her to the mental facility. When she got there, she was tested and confirmed. We ran a battery of tests that test for, they take blood samples. And when people say, it's impossible to tell, there's no test for mental illness, that's wrong.
It's there.
They are there. They test your chemicals in the blood.
Saliva and blood. Okay. The small thing I know about hormonal imbalances is that when you're stressed, a particular hormone is released. And it can be found either in your saliva or in your blood.
Yes.
So you can actually check people and you can find out if someone is stressed from just checking
from
their
the blood.
Yeah.
Yes. It's true. Even the smell of your skin you can be releasing certain strong hormones that have a certain scent. Men, we have pheromones. So when you've not showered or you've been sweating, there's a certain natural odor that comes. And when it's in excess, it can be too much. And this person has a terrible body odor. It might be a sign of illness. Imagine. You don't know it, but it might. So I'm not saying that was the case. No, it wasn't. But I'm just giving examples of red flags to look out for.
Yeah.
Anger management or lack of anger management. Poor anger management. Sleeplessness. Insomnia. Sleep apnea.
What is sleep apnea?
Sleep apnea is insomnia.
Yeah.
It's another name for insomnia. Failure to sleep. Snoring at night can affect your ability to sleep soundly. When you sleep soundly, it means you sleep for 6 to 8 hours a day, a night rather. You need to sleep in a cool, dark room with no sounds, such that your brain can shut down completely, and you go through what is called REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. Rapid eye movement sleep, which means your body completely rests, and then the toxins in your blood are released through your sweat. That's why you wake up when your bed sheets are wet from sweat, because your body has a natural wake mechanism. You drink water before you sleep to flush these toxins out of your body through your skin and through your urine. That's why when you wake up, the first place you go to is the what? The bathroom.
Yeah, true.
To cleanse your system of those toxins that have been cleansed overnight as you slept.
Is self-isolation keeping oneself, keeping, some people tend to really isolate themselves there.
That's a sign of danger.
Or is alone.
That's it.
Yeah.
There are people who are introverted. Let's not confuse introversion with mental illness.
Yes.
The two are not one and the same. But this self-exclusion where you find a person staying for 2 weeks, not leaving their bedroom, and at the same time they are extremely sad and depressed. They are crying torrents and torrents and torrents of tears for no apparent reason. Their ability to handle stress is low. So we all have stressors in environments, from the food to the jobs we do to the financial hardships and challenges we all face in life. These are stressors to relationships or lack of them. children, school fees. A lot of parents go into some mild form of depression when it's school fees time.
Yes.
Because you're thinking, where will I get money to take back my children to school before